Maynard the fool, the rotten apple who'd fallen many miles from the tree. He fumed and had me drive to the old house at the edge of our town, Starfall, where he purchased himself a night with a fancy, and had the bright notion to bring her back to the big house at Lochless, and most fatefully, in a sudden bout of shame, insisted on leaving the back way out of town, down Dumb Silk Road, until it connected to the old turnpike which led us back to the bank of the River Goose. A cold, steady rain fell as I drove, the water dripping down from the brim of my hat, puddling on my trousers. I could hear Maynard in the back with all his games putting his carnal boasts upon the fancy. I was pushing the horse as hard as I could because all I wanted was to be home and free of Maynard's voice, though I could never in this life be free of him. Maynard, who held my chain. Maynard, my brother, who was made my master. And I was trying all I could to not hear, searching for distraction, memories of corn-shucking or young games of blind man's bluff. What I remember is how those distractions never came, but instead there was a sudden silence, erasing not just Maynard's voice, but all the small sounds of the world around. And now, peering into the pigeonhole of my mind, what I found were remembrances of the lost. Men holding strong on watch night, and women taking their last tour of the apple orchards, spinsters remanding their own gardens to others, old codgers cursing the great house of Lochless. Legions of the lost, brought across that baleful bridge, legions embodied in my dancing mother. I yanked at the reins, but it was too late. We barreled right through, and what happened next shook forever my sense of a cosmic order. But I was there, and saw it happen, and have since seen a great many things that expose the ends of our knowledge and how much more lies beyond it. The road beneath the wheels disappeared, and the whole of the bridge fell away, and for a moment I felt myself floating on, or maybe in, the blue light. And it was warm there, and I remember that brief warmth because just as suddenly as I floated out, I was in the water, under the water, and even as I tell you this now, I feel myself back there again, in the icy bite of that river goose, the water rushing into me, and that particular burning agony that comes only to the drowning. There is no sensation like drowning, because the feeling is not merely agony, but a bewilderment at so alien a circumstance. The mind believes that there should be air, since there is always air to be had, and the urge to breathe is such a matter of instinct that it requires a kind of focus to belay the order. Had I leapt from the bridge myself, I could have accounted for my new situation. Had I even fallen over the side, I would have understood, if only because this would have been imaginable. But it was as though I had been shoved out of a window right into the depths of the river. There was no warning. I kept trying to breathe. I remember crying out for breath, and more, I remember the agony of the answer, the agony of water rushing into me, and how I answered that agony by heaving, which only invited more water. But somehow I steadied my thoughts. Somehow I came to understand that all my thrashing could only but hasten my demise. And with that accomplished, I noted that there was light in one direction and darkness in another, and deduced that the dark was the depths and the light was not. I whipped my legs behind me and stretched out my arms toward the light, pulling the water until at last, coughing, retching, I surfaced. And when I came up, breaking through dark water and into the diorama of the world, storm clouds hung by unseen thread, a red sun pinned low against them, and beneath that sun, hills dusted with grass. I looked back at the stone bridge, which must have been, my God, a half-mile away. The bridge seemed to be almost racing away from me because the current pulled me along, and when I angled myself to swim toward the shore, it was that current still, or perhaps some unseen eddy beneath, pulling me downriver. There was no sign of the woman whose time Maynard had so thoughtlessly purchased. But whatever thoughts I had on her behalf were broken by Maynard making himself known, as he had so often, with hue and cry, determined to go out of this world in the self-same manner that he'd passed through it. He was close by, pulled by the same current. He thrashed in the current, yelled, treaded a bit, and then disappeared under, only to reappear again seconds later, yelling, half-treading, thrashing, "Help me, Hi!